Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 7:04 p.m. Welcome to tonight's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of Monday, January 6, 2025. Members of the Planning and Zoning Commission and public may participate in the public hearings of January 6, 2025. All participants will be able to speak when called upon. At this time, I would like to explain the procedures to be followed during the meeting. The Commission has both a consent agenda and an agenda for consideration of individual items. Items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and non-contested. Item number 1, citizen comments, provides the opportunity for members of the public to address the Commission on items that are listed on the consent agenda. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, and the Secretary will let you know when 1 minute is left. For individual consideration items, I will call the applicant or his or her representative to present the case. The applicant will have up to 5 minutes to present the case, which includes all persons representing the application. Then those wishing to speak in favor and those wishing to speak in opposition will have up to 5 minutes each to present his or her comments. Prior to speaking, please give your name and address. Remember to speak directly into the microphone, as this hearing is recorded for public record. Any handouts you wish to provide should be given to staff. Please do not approach the Commission. The next meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission will be Monday, February 3rd, 2025. The next item on our agenda is citizen comments on items listed on the consent agenda. April, has anyone signed up to speak on any item on the consent agenda?
No one signed up. Please proceed.
Thank you. Secretary Merrick, will you please read the consent agenda into the record?
Approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes of Monday, December 2nd, 2024.
All right. So we have one item on our consent agenda for approval tonight. Do we have a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
Give him a second.
Okay.
It's Johnson through my agenda. What? Thank you. Not quite yet.
What's that? Sorry, what?
The voting screen isn't coming up.
You do a hand vote if you want to.
Yeah. All right. How about we do a hand vote on this one? Everybody in favor, please raise your hand. Anybody opposed? No? The motion passes unanimously. All right, let's move on to the individual items. Item number 3, Comprehensive Plan Amendment 2024-412-CP, located at 4105 Esters Road. Is the applicant present? All right. We discussed in the work session, but would you like to present? Okay. And would you like to present on both items, item 3 and item 4 at the same time? Okay, great. Thank you.
Same time, please.
He has a presentation, so we won't start the clock on you yet. And use the arrow keys to.
All right. So, Robert Dye, representing both Woodhaven Development and the owner, Realty Appreciation. I live at 13218 B Street, Dallas, Texas, 75234. Chair, commissioners, staff, appreciate you all having us here today. I know you heard this earlier in the work session, but just want to give you kind of background on Woodhaven, industrial multifamily developer. We've done quite a bit of work here in Irving previously, mostly around County Line, DFW Airport area. And so the location we're talking about today is right here at Esters and 161. It's on the southeast corner. It's about a 9-acre site. And as you can kind of see from here, kind of just to the south of us is multifamily.
No, can you hold up 1 second? Is the microphone on and just?
It doesn't sound like it.
I knew that,
but
that was what
green.
we were thinking too.
I don't know if that's me. Do I need to like get?
Oh,
I just
there
need
we
to,
go.
Okay, I need to be right up in it. Okay. That's my apologies. So yeah, this is Esther's in 161. Okay.
Can you please state your name and address once more?
Yes, it's Rob Dye, 13218 B Street, Dallas, Texas, 75234. So, subject site, Esther's in 161. As you can kind of see to the south, we have multifamily. Also to the east, multifamily. There's some residential also kind of to the northeast and to the north. And, you know, the owner has owned this property for quite some time. And in fact, last time they came through here prior to the one we came through in April before we did the modifications was in 2014. They came through as part of the regional commercial to do an office development and got that site plan approved. And over the last 10 years, you know, I've been unable to get anyone to move forward with that. Also consulted with several different groups on, you know, some kind of hospitality, hotels, retail. Haven't really gotten a lot of traction. And so kind of looking at the area, some of the other things that have happened along 161 and based on where this is, you know, we kind of took a look at, you know, is this an opportunity for mixed use development, multifamily? And so with that, you know, we originally came through with this plan. It was a 2-building project, 575 units, had about 15,000 square foot of retail. You know, this is podium construction, between 5 to 7 stories. So, you know, pretty tall, pretty dense. We heard you guys loud and clear that that's not what you were looking for here. You wanted more of that, you know, kind of community feel with the neighborhood. And so, you know, as you can see also, the look we were looking for was very modern, kind of contemporary. And so this is kind of what it would look like from all the kind of street views. And so after, you know, talking with staff several different times, going back, reimagining the site, seeing what we could do, we came back with this revised site plan, which kind of lays it out a little bit further around the site, kind of brings it a little bit more to the street. You don't have 2 giant buildings, it's kind of one, but what we also tried to do is move the retail closer to the corner of Walnut Hill and Esther's. We thought that that would tie it into the community a little bit better, make it a little bit more walkable, make it a little bit more approachable as you're coming into the neighborhood. And then as you can kind of see the access points into the multifamily, we brought that in off Walnut Hill, but we also brought that in off the service road. That way it would keep any of that traffic away from the neighborhood, keep it focused to the freeway and along the frontage road. And so what we've kind of done here is we've moved away from that modern aesthetic, came to something a little bit more traditional, gable roof line, something that ties in the street, a lot more landscaping. You know, you don't have elevated garages kind of in your view, so this kind of gives you a better view. This is at the corner of Walnut Hill and Esther's. This is kind of that northeast corner. You can kind of see the retail that we have going along there. Up to the right of the page is the, you know, planned building that would have some outdoor seating for a restaurant, things like that. This kind of brings you down and around. That's your entry point into the garage there on the low side of the retail. This would be facing the service road of 161. This is the 5-story portion of this, and the reason we align this on this side is because from the freeway, from the service road, you know, it wouldn't be too much in your face. You can put that there because it's a little bit elevated, but we also built this way because the site does have some considerable fall. And in order to keep the roof line kind of squared up and in line and building into the hill to kind of save some costs, that's kind of why we reconfigured this site the way that we did. Moving back towards the south end, we brought it back to 4 stories, you know, kind of still have that feel, and this is your view along Esther's. We wanted to make this 3 stories more approachable, kind of like some of the modern townhome heights that you would normally see in a development, and, you know, open up some green space, add some trees, some big sidewalks, and have some of those apartment units kind of come out to the street to make it feel more incorporated into the neighborhood. So this is kind of just, you know, another view all the way along Esther's, what it might look like from the other side of the street. And so with some of the amenities, we do plan on doing Class A amenities. This is some representative photos from a previous project that we just finished 6-7 months ago. So this is the same style and detail that we would bring into it. You know, nice pools, amenity spaces, game rooms, clubhouses. You know, that's what some of the finishes would look like in your kitchen and bathroom. And so what we had was 7 stories, 575 units, 15,000 square feet, podium construction, and from that we've moved to 1 building, 3 to 5 stories, something a little bit more manageable, 406 units. That's 30% drop from what we had. We added 5,000 more square feet of retail to 20,000 and made this more of a wrap style complex to bring it to the street with a traditional aesthetic. And, you know, the 20,000 square feet of retail, we took a look at that. If you looked just north kind of at Beltline where the Tesla charging station is and the PJ Coffees. That's 9,000 square feet. That seems manageable for that area. This is double that. We think with the neighborhood, with the number of units that we're going to have and anything in the area, that this would be supported locally. It'd be more of that local, commercial that would blend in the neighborhood and something that could be serviceable. And that's why we kind of did it that way. We didn't want to go too much and potentially have some empty space. We thought that this would fill up. This would be good for people that took down the space and, benefit not only in our development, but the neighborhood as well. And so kind of a side-by-side comparison of what these two look like with the changes that we look to make. And so with that, I'm here to answer any questions y'all might have.
Thank you. Any questions from the commissioners for the applicant?
Hi, good evening. You mentioned the five-story building that's facing the highway not having the commercial tenants. Have you considered having the commercial percentage to the five-story facing buildings? Since you would also then attract walk-ins that are not just primarily from the residents, and you would meet that 10% threshold.
We would probably have to change the entire development to do 10% and dropping that number of units to get to what we think is a manageable level of retail in that area, just based on what we've seen up and down that corridor and kind of in this neighborhood, like doing that much retail to accommodate, the 400 units that, is what we feel on the low end we're looking to accomplish. That would be a considerable amount more of retail, probably, 60,000 square feet, which is a lot. And the reason we put it up in that northeast corner was that ties closer to the neighborhood. That makes it walkable to all the other apartment complexes around there. It gets people off of the service road. It's part of the street there on Esther's. You can kind of see it when you're coming off the freeway at Walnut Hill and 161, rather than it kind of being on the service road because, from the freeway, you're not going to see it anyways because the freeway is so much lower than the actual service road that when you pull up to it, you'll still see it from the intersection where you pull in anyways.
I don't know about the other commissioners, but at this moment, since it is such a low percentage, it is like denial. I don't know if that's something that y'all would want to consider redeveloping on that. And the low density, how many units did you say that it was?
It's 406, 43
400.
units an acre.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I had a question for you. What type of retail are you looking at bringing into that area?
We believe this is going to be more neighborhood services type of stuff. So nail salon, maybe a coffee shop on the restaurant side with that patio, things that you would kind of see that would support that kind of area. Maybe, a pet, not really a pet hospital, but I guess I would say a daycare for them for if you're going out of town,
Okay.
things
So
like that.
my concern is that we've had other developers come and say they're going to do these mixed use, and then there's never the retail that they've promised. So how are you committing to using that retail space? Do you have tenants already lined up that could potentially go into that space?
We don't have tenants yet, but the reason we went to the level that we did at 20,000 square feet is we thought that's what we could achieve in that area, because if we promise and build that much retail. If you think about it, we've owned this site for well over 10 years, and a retail developer hasn't come to us to put big box or, more retail in there.
Right.
That we feel with this development, with the number of people that are going to be in the area, plus every, the neighborhoods that are around there with the other multifamily, kind of the townhome developments and the single family that's in that area, that we would be able to service it with that amount. And like I said, I referenced the 9,000 square feet at Beltline, one exit up with the Tesla's charging stations, that's only 9,000 square feet, and they seem to be doing well. And so we kind of took a page from that and said we could probably double that based on where we are, and that's where we felt comfortable.
So you're going to take that space and break it up?
We're going to break it up into multiple tenants, yes.
Hello.
Question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I do also want to mention, I love this project. I would consider thinking of having like a bodega-style grocery store, which would get you to that 10%, since there are the surrounding neighborhoods that could utilize that space, and it would be good for the tenants, the commercial tenants that are there. And, just something for
Yeah,
consideration.
no, appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
The question I have is when y'all revised the plan from April's plan and y'all come back, did city staff was very clear with you guys as far as what they were looking for as far as their 10% lower density apartments, et
They
cetera?
were very clear, and we had several meetings with them, and very grateful for the time and energy they put into this. And that's kind of where we came back with a complete change of 2 buildings, more traditional looking, smaller density. And yet what we understood, they wanted 10% based on what we were building here, the number of units that we were looking for and the amount of retail. It just didn't line up for us. And, that's why we went larger than we did originally, even in that more dense property type that we came forward with the first time. It was 15,000 square feet. This is 20. I mean, it's a 33%.
Well, your design is really nice. I mean, what you're presenting and everything else. In that area, I'm really thinking we need more commercial. I'd have to be with Alicia and, most of the other commissioners I'm not speaking for, but for myself, I couldn't support it with that lower density. I think the units, you dropped it down, you're making it more manageable. I still think it's a lot in that area, but you've dropped it down, but I'm really looking for a little bit, at least closer to what we have, because at 3.9% ratio, when we're requiring 10, I mean, we've had other applicants where we've, not approved it just because of that.
Yeah.
And this is probably something I couldn't support.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Reyes?
Yes, I would want to mention another perspective. Having a lower dense apartment units, it becomes then more attractable because now you're having the multi-use commercial as well as the apartments. And I don't know when you mentioned that it was not lining up, if it wasn't lining up on a profitability perspective, not having as many units, but just from having not as many units, you may be able to, market more for the apartment.
That was kind of what we looked at, like the cost of construction with the cost of land and what we kind of needed to see to make all the economics work. Like this was a function of how we balanced all that. We might be able to take a look at more retail, but based on this number of units getting to 10%, like that's going to be a stretch. And I think it's going to be a lot of retail in an area that, to be honest, over the years, like retail hasn't been built out on any of the other corners in this Diamond Interchange, which is,
And that's why you can argue that it would be a good need, since there's no retail out there. It would become an attractability at that point.
The question I have for you
Yeah.
is if we don't approve the second phase as far as what you're looking at doing, as far as the variances and everything else, are you still wanting to move forward with city staff's recommendation of approval going from regional commercial to community village? Are you still wanting that? Because that's going to sort of
I mean, I'd have to talk to
restrict you
the,
on what you're looking at. I mean, are you wanting to possibly propose or postpone number 3 if we, I don't know how this is going to work. I don't want to put you in a spot where if your plan does not go through tonight, that you still go to council, of course.
Yeah.
But if your plan does not follow through, you're stuck with one zoning or whatever.
our recommendation could potentially change. We might have to go back to the drawing board, but yeah, limiting our options would not be in our best interest.
Okay.
Mr. Dye?
Yeah.
Thank you. I was a little vocal earlier in the work session. I don't know if you were there.
Yeah, it was.
This presentation helped me a lot, so the visuals are often helpful to me. Would you mind going back to
Yep.
your site plan where you had the regional on the corner there? Because I wanted to clarify, in my notes, I'd written that there
You
was
want
20,000,
This, or do you want the site plan?
that one. There was 20,000 square feet of commercial, and then I wrote down 7,500 square feet of commercial. So are there 2 buildings? Could you point that out for me?
Yeah, so if you look in the northeast corner, which is up Walnut Hill and Esther's,
Yeah.
there's that standalone building.
Right.
That's 7,200 square feet.
Okay,
And then if you look just across the parking lot where all the parking is, on the bottom of the floor, which I can kind of show you in this photo as well.
okay, that's on the bottom of the apartment. So
That's on the bottom, and so there's 13,000
That's
square
your
feet
community
there.
village component?
Yep, correct.
Okay, just so everybody's aware, council approved both the comprehensive plan changes and the zoning case last time they came up with, this was a larger, denser project, so I'm just putting that out there.
I thought they didn't. Thought it got postponed. It got postponed. They did
Yeah,
not,
we,
they did not
we,
approve.
we
Yeah.
postponed it until,
Yeah, yeah,
I
no.
had approved on my tracking sheet.
I think they approved our
Yeah.
recommendation for
Yeah.
postponement, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why it came back. Okay, got it.
yeah. Commissioner Reyes?
Yes, I would have to agree with Commissioner Lightfoot. I feel it's in the best interest for you and your team to go back to the drawing board and meet it back up to that 10%. It's just a thought, put it out there.
Yeah, my only thought is, that's a lot of retail to go up to 10%. So I supported it back in April, and I'm going to support it again.
Yeah, my only comment is just that it's still pretty dense, and Community Village is asking for lower density. And I know you have decreased it compared to what, was brought forth before, but it's still pretty dense, I think having the retail on the bottom is great, but also we're asking for 10%. And so I think not meeting those thresholds, for me at this time, I'm not going to be able to support this.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Yes, what's the percentage of green space you're going to have?
It's pretty good.
No,
I mean, we got a lot.
right. Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have that percentage, but I think it would conform with what the city requires from a site plan standpoint.
Second question, what's the rent range you're thinking on those apartments?
These, probably going to be in the low $2 a square foot.
And remind me of the sizes that you're going to have, the apartment size?
The average size on this is going to be about 875 to 900 square feet, so that probably ranges anywhere from 600 square feet to 1,300 square feet, just depending on the mix. And the plan here was to be closer to that 65% one-bedroom to two-bedroom mix.
And the commercial space that you're thinking about, retail, it's going to be about 10,000 square feet or
20,000.
20,000 square feet. Okay. Now, right south of this, it's the condominiums, right? It's condos, right south of there.
You have townhomes, single-family, and multifamily. So about 50% halfway down the street from our site, it's multifamily behind us and to the east. And then there's an area that gets to some single-family, and then there's some townhomes at the corner of Esther's and Walnut Hill, and then across the street on the north side of Walnut Hills where you get more of the single-family.
Really? Thank you.
Commissioner Reyes?
When you mentioned the $2 for square footage, is that for the retail or for the?
That's for rent. Retail's probably somewhere between 30 and 35 bucks a foot.
Okay. I do really just want to reiterate, I think a grocery store would be amazing there. And like 20,000 square footage, 10,000 of it,
Yeah.
you have then walkers that can go and utilize that space. There's no surrounding retail thing. Retail's around there. No, I'm just putting that out there.
I mean, one of the things that we could consider, and I'm just going to throw this out there, I really don't want to derail the whole thing, but it's, if we were to put retail maybe where you're recommending, but it doesn't get leased up in a certain amount of time, could we convert it back?
Oh.
Is kind of, let's test the market, and if there is demand and there's more, we have space for it, but if it doesn't get filled up within a certain amount of time, we have the right to put it back to potentially use it.
I don't know. I feel that not just from the commercial real estate background, you won't have like, don't take my word for it, but that space would be, but that is a question for staff. Is that something that could be implemented?
They'd have to come back before us, right? I think that would have to come back before us to get that changed. Yeah.
Shouldn't be done right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, just thinking of like downtown areas and like the Tom Thumbs to go or,
Yeah, I mean, we kind of designed it as like a smaller market, but I was thinking this would be, if it was going to be a market, you're more of a Cox Farms or even a smaller Sprouts kind of in this area, and you're not, something that's 30, 40,000 square feet.
Right. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Out of curiosity, why are you not doing 3-bedroom apartments if there's been such a demand for 3 bedrooms after COVID?
Say that again?
Why are you not building 3-bedroom apartments?
We like to put a few of them in there because there are some larger families that are looking for some more bedrooms, so we like to put some opportunity in there. We have another apartment complex we just finished that we put 6 of them in there, and they went pretty quick.
3 bedrooms, you mean?
Yep.
So in here, are you going to be putting 3 bedrooms?
I'd have to go back to, there might be there's not a lot. It's a small percentage.
8.
Yeah,
There's 8.
Now, have you built an apartment complex in Irving before?
not in Irving.
Where?
Grand Prairie.
Where was the last one?
Grand Prairie,
And do you have retail under it, like you are planning?
we do not. 0 retail.
Okay.
It's at 161 and Main Street.
All right. That it on the questions for the applicant? Okay. I think you're free for now.
Awesome. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak in favor of this item? Is there anybody who'd like to speak in opposition? Sir? Please state your name and address.
My name is Santos Castillo, live at 3865 Marciala Circle, the single-family home, townhomes right across the street from that. I have lived in the area for approximately 6 years. In that time frame, nothing has really been built in that section of the area. I've always felt that it was a good place for single-family homes or homes that will be built versus commercial. In the area, there are already multifamily home areas, multiple items associated with that, as well as short-term stays right across the area. And of course, everybody knows with the amount of traffic comes criminal activities in the areas. I know for a fact that at the 90 right across the Wall Street areas, they have single-family homes that they have built. And of course, those homes range in excess of 800,000, which is not what was needed in the area. I think in the area, you needed much more affordable housing versus the multifamily. And again, I'm in regards to the density that is being proposed here would be excessive, I feel, in the area for an individual that rides in the morning, in the afternoons. And of course, here's all of the traffic in the area in the morning, being woken up by it. Definitely is not a suitable situation for that area. I'm more than in favor of developing the area. Just this type of development in the area, I think, would not be what I would consider acceptable in that area. And of course, also not addressing the need for single-family homes that are needed in the area to maintain a suitable residential areas for individuals. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who'd like to speak in opposition to this item? And sir, would you like to respond at all to the comments that were made? No? Okay. All right, then I will close the public hearing and return it to the commission for any further discussion and a motion. And we are currently on just the item number 3 in terms of the motion. We'll have to vote on them separately.
Well, I'd like to offer a few comments, having heard the presentation, which I do appreciate the applicant's presentation. I thought it was well done and thoughtful. However, my comments have to do just considering the compatibility of this project for that area and then Irving in general and the density. And I think the density and the traffic for that area specifically is very outsized and doesn't fit that area. It already has a number of, it's a nice area. It has a number of townhomes and other more compact housing. This is even more dense in that area, and I think would be a stress to that area and the infrastructure. So for those reasons, I wouldn't be able to support it generally, and I wouldn't support a change in the plan if there's not a reason to change it. I still think the current designation is more appropriate.
Any other discussion? Or do we have a motion?
For clarification's sake, this isn't for the variance, this is just for the zoning change, correct?
This is the comprehensive plan
Comprehensive-
amendment.
oh, okay,
So
thank you.
the comprehensive plan amendment is just the portion from regional commercial to community village.
I would, if no other commissioner has any further feedback, I'd like to make a motion for comprehensive plan amendment 2024-412 CP for postponement for February 3rd PNC meeting.
I'll second it based upon the applicant's statement that if the number 4 does not necessarily, his variances does not necessarily pass tonight, that he would be looking for doing something possibly different on the property. I think if we would have put 4 before 3,
Yep.
it would have probably made this decision a little easier.
Okay, we have a motion for postponement till the next regular meeting and a second.
Can I ask you
Any
just a-
discussion on that? Because
Yeah,
that
just
wasn't what.
a point of clarification on the order. If this motion fails, we could move to recommend denial, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, then I would suggest voting against the motion, but that's me.
All right. Please vote on the motion. A yes is for postponement. A no is to deny this motion. And then it opens up for further discussion. And the motion fails. All right. So back to discussion and any other motion.
Well, I'd like to make a motion. I would move to recommend disapproval for Comprehensive Plan Amendment 2024-412-CP.
Okay, we have a motion and a second recommending disapproval. Please vote. I think we have to vote again.
Sorry.
And the motion passes, recommending disapproval of the proposed comprehensive plan amendment. All right, that moves us on to item number 4, which is zoning case 2023-110-ZC, which the applicant already spoke on. I assume you didn't have anything further to add on that? No? Okay. Then open up for the public hearing. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak in favor of this item? Anybody who would like to speak in opposition to this item? There not being any further speakers, I'll return it to the commission for any further discussion and a motion on this item.
I'd like to move to recommend disapproval of the zoning case 2023-110-ZC.
Second.
We have a motion and a second recommending disapproval. Please vote. And the motion passes. All right. Then we will go on to item number 5, Comprehensive Plan Amendment 2024-389-CP. This one also has a companion case. Is the applicant present? Yes. Would you like to speak on both parts of this at the same time?
Yes, that'd be great.
Wonderful. No, now it seems off. It was on when you first walked up, yeah. No, it's not on. Should be green.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Thank you, everybody. My name is Scott Ellerman. I'm with Constellation Real Estate Partners. Little quick context behind Constellation. We are a developer and investor in logistical and data center properties across the Sun Belt region with 5 offices across the southern regions of the United States. Currently in Dallas, we are in the DFW Metroplex. We have 4 active projects, and this would ultimately be our 5th if elected to proceed with development. As part of our presentation today, I'd like
Excuse
to
me?
invite.
Can you provide your address, please, for
Oh,
the
yes,
record?
I'm sorry about that. Address 2021 McKinney Avenue, Suite 300. As part of our presentation tonight, I would like to invite Pastor Ben Daly up to speak on behalf of the Calvary Church, who is the seller of a property for rezone.
Good evening, Ben Daly, 4401 North Highway 161. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight for just a few minutes. If you have lived in the city of Irving for any length of time, you have likely heard the name Calvary Church, which was formerly known as Calvary Temple. And Calvary has really been a steadfast presence in this community since its founding. It's hard to believe 66 years ago, in 1959, when a small group of people, led at that time by Bill Farrell, planted the church really with a vision for faith and service in this community. And then in 1972, Jadon George took the role as senior pastor, and then over the next 45 years, he shepherded the church's growth, leading the congregation from 3 different locations in the city, Rawweiler and Highway 183, and now our current location there at 161. And so more than 6 decades, Calvary Church really has been a vibrant and active part of Irving, touching countless lives through its weekly local church ministries to people of all ages, children to senior adults, and its outreach efforts. We just came out of a season of great outreach, whether it's providing holiday meals or partnering with our community or supporting local schools with backpacks and shoes and clothing and supplies. Calvary has consistently sought to serve this city, and we've built lasting partnerships in this city. Through Loving Our City ministry, we've helped neighborhoods with cleaning projects and clothing and food distribution and even vehicles. And these efforts have really been our way of giving back to the city that we love. I'm not here to bore you tonight, but on a personal note, my family and I have been a part of Calvary Church for 31 years. While attending college, we were 19 years old, and my wife and I joined as interns and have been honored to serve this incredible community ever since. Well, it was in 2018 that we fully stepped into the role of lead pastors, guiding the church through seasons of really significant change, including the challenges brought by the pandemic, economic shifts, cultural transitions in our community. And under our leadership, Calvary has expanded from a single location to multiple locations now in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, across the U.S. and internationally. And our congregation here locally has grown increasingly diverse, reflecting really the dynamic demographics changes in Irving over the years. It was in November of 2023 that we really began, I would call it a new chapter, talking about embracing some change for us as an older church. And so we set out to adopt a new name and, as we have in years past, find a new facility that better aligns with our evolving mission and positions the church, I believe, in a stronger position to better serve its members and our city. And while our current building has served us well, it no longer meets the needs of our congregation or really the innovative ways that we're approaching ministry in today's world, changing world. And so to ensure this transition is successful, we partnered with Michael Carter, a highly regarded realtor and the president of Go Commercial, and Michael has been instrumental in helping us navigate the complexities of selling our current property and securing a new location. And I will say our goal within Irving, staying in Irving, was really a priority for us. Its central location here in the Metroplex, vibrant diversity, it really makes it the perfect home for our church family, although people come from around the Metroplex. Well, after careful consideration, I fast forward, September 2024, we accepted an offer from Constellation, and their team has been incredibly accommodating, ensuring that we can continue operating as a church throughout transition. So their collaboration, I'll say, has really just been a testament to what we can do together and what we can accomplish. And, Calvary's story is deeply intertwined with this city's history, and we look forward to continuing to serve this city, my hope, for generations to come. So thank you for your time, for allowing me to share tonight, and I'll turn it back over to Scott. Thank you. Appreciate it.
As Pastor Ben mentioned, it's been an absolute blessing to work with the Calvary Church during this process. And while I don't have a visual presentation to provide tonight, because most of the slides that I would put on that presentation, were already provided in the information meeting before this with just general aerials and what is in the surrounding neighborhood. So with that, I want to get into really how all of this came together. And as Pastor Ben mentioned, Michael Carter, who is representative of the church throughout this transaction, connected us with the Calvary Church and explained their situation. We knew that this would likely turn into one of the most unique projects that we have ever worked on before. Michael explained the delicate situation that the church was in, that they're still in, and that Pastor Ben just so eloquently presented. He said that the church decided to market this property for light industrial use, given the site's height limitations, direct access to Highway 161, as well as the surrounding industrial along the western and southern side. Meanwhile, the church's rebranding and relocation mission began, focusing on sites within the city of Irving so that they can continue to serve their congregation as well as the city of Irving like they have been for over 60 years. Once the relocation site was identified, the financial proceeds from our transaction that we agreed upon would go directly towards purchasing their relocated facility and upgrading it with their new brand and vision for their new property. While they construct their new place of worship, they will continue to operate in their existing facility on 4401 North State Highway 161 that we will own until they are complete with their new facility with the construction and they are 100% ready to move in. The moment that the church
remaining.
I'm sorry?
1 minute
You have
remaining.
1 minute.
Okay. The moment that the church relocates is when they will move out of their facility and we will begin construction on ours. And trust and creativity are the foundation of this transaction. It is the reason why we're standing here as a partnership with the church. We've always prioritized our partnership with the church and our commitment to their relocation so that they can operate without any issues. And to wrap up, getting to work with the Calvary Church and the City of Irving on this project has been such a blessing. They have an incredible community of people, including their exceptional leaders, all of whom collectively are a great microcosm for the people of Irving, diverse, committed, and eager to serve. One thing I will add, in the short amount of time I have left, we had the distinct pleasure to meet with the Baptist Temple, who are our neighbors directly to the north, many times. We are honored to be in the presence of their senior Swami, who is in town, who not only provided their support for our project, but also blessed the success of our project, as well as the birth of my firstborn son in April, which was a very powerful moment. So with that, I will open up for questions.
Any questions for the applicant?
Go ahead, Daniel.
All right, I'll start. So I appreciate the presentation. Some of what I'm struggling with is I'm not exactly sure what we're being asked to approve, other than a very general change to the site from its current use to what may be warehouse or data center manufacturing. So I guess it would be helpful if you do have more details, things like, do you have specific plans in mind for the use, or is that still in play? What's the timeline? Like you say, there's a cooperation. So is there a deadline that they have to be out where you could commence construction? Details like that would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our vision and a big reason why we were awarded this project with the Calvary Church was really our flexibility. We replicated a development strategy that we actually have a few miles south off of 161, where we are pursuing both light industrial, a warehouse development, and a data center development as well. That is a pretty straightforward case. On really either path. We will have the ability to develop a data center as well as a speculative industrial warehouse. I will say it is our inclination, we believe that it is in the best case for the developer, the seller, as well as the City of Irving, that this is a data center, assuming that the infrastructure and power capacity is met and that everything is in place for that to commence. At this point, that is a little ambiguous, and that is something we are currently working on with Encore, as well as several consultants to gauge the power feasibility of a potential data center development. As I mentioned, what was important to the Calvary Church was the ability to close, to perform within their time frame. This isn't something that can stretch for multiple years or multiple months. In some cases, Encore and really the infrastructure providers will take that long in order to validate a data center development. So our fallback option was to perform and to be able to develop a speculative industrial warehouse. Like I said, our preference is to develop the data center. Our fallback option is the industrial warehouse. Fortunately, the City of Irving and the zoning compliance that we are seeking to obtain allows us to pursue both. And both the data center and our industrial warehouse. And in the moment that we actually do close on this transaction, which will be in the early stage of Q2 of this year, there will likely be about a year to about a 12 to 15 month process for the church to finish construction of the relocated facility and then move. That 12 to 15 month process will be very critical as we seek to obtain our power feasibility and go forward with what would be our plan A strategy of a data center development. And the chance that we do not receive the power feasibility and we're told that it is not, really it's not a feasible path, we would elect to move forward with the industrial warehouse.
So, I guess two follow-up questions. So your goal would be, ultimately I'm wondering if this is premature, what you're requesting from us, because it's not clear to me what's going to end up in this site. It sounds like you're looking for optionality. If you're not able to get the feasibility study or whatever's required for a data center, you've got a backup plan for something else. so I don't know if that's correct, but also, is there a deadline where they have to move out and you are doing whatever you're going to do? I didn't hear a deadline for that.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were asking a deadline for them to move out of their facility.
Right.
There's no deadline for them to move out. The moment that they are done with construction of their relocated facility is when they would elect to, and then we would move forward with whatever it is we ultimately develop.
So do you have the ability to get out of your contract if they don't move?
The lease, it's a lease back, and so we would already purchase the property. We would lease it back to them at no cost, and they would continue to operate within the facility until they're done. And then the moment that they are done with the construction of their property is when they would move to their new location. And then, like I said, we would move forward with our development.
What happens if they don't move?
I think that's when communication and this partnership that I stressed earlier is very important. And it is part of the contract that we're in, is that they would move out following the expiration of the leaseback period. There is a fallback option of the leaseback, which is, I think, a maximum 18 months, but the expectation is that it would not take 18 months.
Okay, so 18 months is when their lease would expire.
Yes,
Got
but they have the ability to leave prior to that if it's ready.
Got it. All right.
So the question I have for you is your main objective is to put a data center here, correct? That's your first option
that's
before
correct.
you look at it. So I would have to agree with Daniel. I think it's a little premature because we're giving you sort of a universal zoning per se. You can go industrial, you can do this, you can do that. And I can't support it with our new UDC changes coming in and everything else on data centers to make sure that we are putting these things in properly and protecting the quality of life of our citizens, et cetera. So if you remove the data center, I'd be okay with the industrial. But with the data center being the primary, there's no way I could support this.
Yeah, my only question was around the warehouse. I mean, there's several that's already up and down 161. So would you even have a tenant that would go into those warehouses once you build them?
Well, the 12-month period where we had actually leased back the property to the church and own the property outright, we would market the facility for build-to-suit opportunities. And hopefully within that period, we were able to secure a commitment from an end user on either strategy.
Given all the other ones that's still waiting for tenants also.
The surrounding area in the industrial inventory in Irving is highly sought after, obviously, because of its logistical nature. For where we are, the presence off the freeway, the intersection of two prominent streets, Highway 161 and Walnut Hill, make this a highly desirable site for a logistical user. And the proximity to the airport and the southern runway really makes this a highly desirable area for industrial and data center users. Yeah. And one thing I would like to mention, just from the previous comment, the building footprint itself would be the exact same if it were industrial warehouse and if it were a data center. The only thing that would change slightly the data center would be slightly taller, given that it would likely be a two-story facility. But the actual building footprint and improvements would remain the exact same.
You mentioned that you would have to get a commitment from Encore in order to be able to go forward with the data center idea. What goes into getting that kind of approval?
So that's currently underway as we are working through transmission engineering to ultimately bring transmission power to the site. We would have to develop a substation on site that would service the data center property. And so right now it's working with Encore, which we have a meeting here in a few days to figure out where the transmission engineering and transmission power would ultimately come from. I think what was mentioned in the information meeting was that there are substations within half-mile proximities to the site that could ultimately bring power to this site and unlock the opportunity for data center development.
So are there costs associated with getting that approval from Encore?
Yes, there's money being spent from us right now as we go through transmission engineering with our consultants.
So that it would create something of a burden if you didn't know you could put a data center there in terms of moving forward with
Well,
those discussions?
it was money that would need to be spent either way, that we're outsourcing to someone who can help us find those answers. But yes, to answer your question, it is a burden that we're willing to take and a risk we're willing to take in order to get this transaction done. As we approach this process, the light industrial zoning that we seek, as I mentioned, does give us flexibility. I know that the ultimate plan is left ambiguous, but that was our assumption that was allowed and permitted through our light industrial zoning.
No, and usually I would wait till the later part, but I agree. I think that makes a lot of sense. If you're wanting to move forward to the data center, to get that approval now, so that you could do that and have the backup of the light industrial. It seems like a great location for either one, because it's pretty far away from residential.
Well, as I did, excuse me,
Well,
as
it's
I
across
did.
the highway.
No, there's a residence that's over on that side.
No, it's the airport.
You
On
go
the
back
west side,
around the
north
back of
side
that,
is
there is
Like
residence.
back past the temple?
Behind
on the
that.
north. Yeah.
Pretty far away, but okay.
It's further away than.
I don't think there's, are you saying, because the neighbor to the west is the DFW airport and the neighbor to the north is the BAPS temple?
By the back road back there, there's houses that lead back there on that side of the 161.
It's a across the road.
Can we see the map?
Across East-West Road.
Maybe if we
on
see
the
the map,
northwest.
it will help out.
April, your mic is on, April.
I'm Michael Carter. I represent the Calvary Temple. Maybe I could clear up a couple of things if that's okay. I live at 3258 Hartleyfield Road in Denton. Although my mother, entire side of the family, grew up in Irving. So it's a pleasure to be here. I'll be happy to answer any questions from the church's point of view. To be more clear, and Scott obviously wanted to keep it in confidence, we do have our relocation site in escrow set up for a simultaneous closing in Q1 of this year. So we're not trying to speed anything through here. As you all know, and we respect, you've had to change a lot to, like everyone else in the country, because data centers are such a new product and such a new frontier. But as you also know, they're extremely low impact. So we do actually, as a church, benefit more on the transaction if we go data centers. So we're all in agreement with that. I think the city certainly benefits. The houses that you're talking about, ma'am, are actually residents and churchgoers of the BAPS Temple, who we have spent, as Scott mentioned, a tremendous amount of time with. And all the business leaders tend to live near the temple and their culture, and they are the ones we met with first, and the Swami approved, even with the residents being there. And as you all know, in about 3 years, they're planning on building a quite elaborate stone temple on their property that we are also, I think I can speak for Scott, that we would be, in favor of, because we've spent a lot of time with our neighbor at the mayor's request. So does anybody have any questions of us? I'm happy to share with you the property we have under contract. We're taking an 80,000 square foot vacant defunct office building and renovating it to further improve and shrink some of that for the city, which will be a benefit as well.
Where's that at? Because I was interested in where you are.
Yeah, I don't mind sharing it at this point. 4600 Regent in Freeport. Next to you got two big, huge vacant buildings there, ADT. Yeah, it's going to be beautiful.
Okay, good.
You have a question? Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Harmon, just a quick question. I really appreciate the interesting way this deal's been put together to allow the Cavalry Church to continue to provide its resources to the city and to its churchgoers. So it's kind of a cool idea. Mm-hmm. Just out of curiosity, isn't it really much more expensive to build a data center and a lot harder? And why would you go that route instead of just industrial warehouse? And I do recognize it is a lighter use as a data center, but it's also more intense in other ways.
No, absolutely, and that's a great question. I think as you read the newspaper on a global level, that data centers are typically dominating the real estate section of the news. There's a lot of demand. There's extremely high demand, and there are a lot of eager end users that would take data center space at a pretty high cost. And, as you probably are aware of the very high-profile user that just took down about 1 million square feet within your city that was announced within this past month, that is really the goal of what we would try to build is to attract, someone, a caliber end user like that. And right now, I think it's a very opportune time to develop a data center like that. And to your point, yes, they are extremely capital intensive. It is a difficult process. And it is our understanding that, right now, that's the best fit for the site, given the current market, and really just the opportunity it presents. At the same time, the site has incredible logistical qualities that also make it a very attractive industrial development. And we agree. We also, believe that the qualities that this site possess, allow us to also attract very high caliber end users for an industrial development as well. And so that kind of flexibility really presented a unique opportunity for us to get creative, partner with the church, and try to find the best solution forward.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Will you be, you mentioned before, you're going to market it as build to suit, or are you going to build a data center?
We would market it as build to suit. As I mentioned, the church would continue to operate after we close on the property while they construct their facility that Michael mentioned they have under contract.
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So the buyer is the one who's finally going to decide if it's going to be a data center or maybe a industrial warehouse?
Yes, ultimately, yes. And if we actually or if we're able to proceed forward with a data center development, given that the power infrastructure is available to the site and feasible, we would elect to do that.
Out of curiosity, what's the size of that church right now?
It is a 24.5 acre site.
But the square footage of the building?
The square footage of the building is just around 100,000 square feet.
Okay.
Can you come up to the microphone?
Yeah, we have two buildings on the property, just under 25 acres. There's an on-site detention pond on a lower level between us and the Baptist Temple. As many of you probably already know, they were looking to put the stone temple in front of their existing temple, so they're going to be really even farther away from us, right up on the service road, which is actually beneficial for both neighbors. So there's noise, all those kind of components are not legitimate here because everything surrounding us is either industrial based already, whether we go either direction, or certainly with data center, they're going to be pushing their temple even farther back. Did that answer your question? We would be demolishing. You would say, why would you take that huge building and demolish it? Well, as you know, because you're working on a couple data centers of their own animal, so they're highly, highly engineered. Millions and millions of dollars of infrastructure, so we have to raise the entire property. So, but the nice component, and one of the great reasons we wanted a partnership with Constellation, and believe me, we marketed this property, I mean, vehemently to any kind of user you can think of, even other churches internationally. And over, the top companies in town, across the country that are in the data center and industrial sector, all bid on this property. The REITs, all of them. So it's very, very viable for the city of Irving, more than anyone, to be honest. And it certainly meets our need as a church to modernize, as Pastor Ben said, and move forward with the great work that Calvary's been doing here. Any other questions of me?
Any other questions for the applicant? No? Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. You can go ahead and sit down for a second.
I was making myself available for questions if there's anything.
I don't think anybody else had any more questions right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak in favor of this item? Is there anybody who would like to speak in opposition to this item? No? All right, well, then I'll return it to the commission for any further discussion and a motion.
I'd like to make a motion on, we're doing this separately, correct?
Yeah, so right now we
Okay.
just have the comprehensive plan amendment.
So I'd like to make a motion for case comprehensive plan amendment 2024-389-CP be forwarded to City Council for approval.
All second.
All right, we have a motion and second recommending approval.
Can I make just a comment
Sure.
before we vote? I think this is a tough case. I do have concerns about it being premature before us, but I do appreciate it sounds like a bit of a chicken and egg problem or challenge to accomplish kind of repurposing that site and benefiting the current owner and the prospective owner. I think it's going to be ultimately up to City Council and their vision for how that site fits into the development of that area. But I ultimately have, I don't think I can support it because I do think it's premature, but I think it's a good proposal.
All right, ready to vote? Please vote. And the motion passes. All right, on to item number 6, which is the companion zoning case, 2024-391-ZC. And you'd already spoke, so I assume you're done for that part. Great, thank you. All right, is there anybody else who'd like to speak in favor of this item? Anybody who would like to speak in opposition to this item? Then I will return it to the commission for discussion and a motion.
If no further discussion, all on zoning case 2024-391-ZZ, I'll make a motion for approval.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second recommending approval. Please vote. And the motion passes. All right. Then on to item number 7, which is conditional use permit 2024-410-CUP, located at 7520 North MacArthur Boulevard. Is the applicant present? Yes.
Someone's.
Is it somebody's?
Yep. Hi, thank you for your time. My name is Russell Nelson with Lone Star Builders, 2208 West, 700 South, Springville, Utah, actually. We do a lot here in this region, so I'm happy to be back out here. I was in the work session, and I wanted to get up here and speak real quick because I know there were some concerns about the car wash. So I just wanted to speak really quick. So a couple things I just wanted to mention. I don't know if we have are those slides up from the work session? If not, I can just speak about it. Okay, so if we go to the site plan, this site, we've actually over-engineered the site. We have a lot more stacking than we typically need. This one has, usually we need maybe 10 stacking for a busy day, and this one we have more than double that, 24 to 25 stacking. We've actually shortened the tunnel even a little bit from what's stated in the staff report. We went from 114 to 108. We just wanted to ensure that there weren't any issues with traffic or stacking. We know this site's going to be very busy. We do a lot of research when we choose a site. This one is a little unique because we're demoing an existing building, and I know there were some concerns about it being compatible with the neighborhood. The building there it's a nice building. The reason it's very nice looking is because there are architectural enhancement requirements in some declarations on the property. So our car wash will be similar to that. It'll be a little bit more enhanced architecturally than what what's standard on our buildings. I wish I had the elevations with me, but we're still working on those, meeting those requirements. There will be additional masonry requirements and things like that. So it'll look really nice. It'll be enhanced more than our standard car wash. Another thing with the compatibility is the uses. I think right next door is the Starbucks, and then right next to that is a Firestone Auto Center. Typically, when we hear compatibility issues in a neighborhood, it's because we're right next to residences or things like that, or right next to a school or something like that. This area is heavily commercialized. We are surrounded on two sides by a large self-storage center, and then a lot of restaurants. As I was sitting there, I think I counted almost 24 restaurants in the area, lots of retail. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of commercial in the area. When we analyze a site, this is exactly what we look for. We're not a destination location. I wish we were. I wish people would go way out of their way to come to our site, but we have to go where people are out running errands and grabbing lunch and shopping, and then they go, oh, how convenient is that? We can go get our car washed at the same time. So this location fits that excellently. Finally, I wanted to talk about probably the biggest concern that is coming up is that there's just too many car washes. I don't want to bore you with the numbers, but I think it's important to just throw out a few here. One of the biggest metrics that we look at, and we've done hundreds of sites that we've analyzed. QuickWhack has over 200 sites. We do a lot in Texas. I think most of them are here in Texas. But when we analyze this, one of the biggest metrics we look at is the population density per car wash. And when it gets around 15,000 people per car wash within a 3-mile radius, sometimes we change that radius a little bit, but in this case, a 3-mile radius, 15,000, that's when we start to question if there's maybe too many car washes. This site has almost 18,000 people per car wash.
There's 1 minute remaining.
Okay, I'll hurry. So I just wanted to point that out. It's important. We love this area. That's why we're willing to put in another car wash. We think there's a lot of demand here. We're going to be busy. I'm a big fan of Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations. I think us being the newcomer as well, I think there's a lot of benefits to businesses competing. And us as the newcomer, we can't provide an inferior service. We have to be excellent if we're the new car wash, if we're competing with other car washes. And it's kind of a win-win-win because the other car washes, they also have to be excellent if they want to compete. It's a win for the city because now you have businesses that are they have to be performing really well. And finally, it's a win for the people of Irving. They have businesses that are striving to be excellent. And so in our research, we have no question that this site will be successful, even though there's already the one on Marketplace. We're super excited about that one. And really, at the end of the day, we just want to clean cars. We've done our analysis. We take this very seriously. It's a very large investment for us. We're super excited about Irving, and that's a risk we want to take with the property owner to build a car wash. So thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. You have a question?
I do. I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Russell Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. The QuickQuack, if I recall, because you had a great presentation early this year for the one on Marketplace, and it was very well branded. And when I drove by the location this weekend that's in Marketplace, you're finally going up, and I see some real large sort of horseshoe-shaped vertical pieces that are going up. How do you reconcile that kind of branding with this small space with your neighbors close in around you?
Yeah, great question. So I think what you're referring to is the parapet walls going up. A lot of times what we'll do around the entrance or the exit or both, we'll put up we call it the tower or some parapet walls to just make it stand out a little bit more and make it look very prominent and attractive. That's one of the architectural features that we do. In this case, we're planning to do something similar. We may have more masonry or more, there might be some color changes depending on the architectural requirements in this one. And again, I wish I had the elevations with us. We haven't completed those yet. but it will have some enhanced features. Sometimes we're even required to put in a pitched roof or something like that, which that's more expensive. We typically don't like to do that, but we like to be consistent with neighbors. So there's a lot of things we can do. We've enhanced landscaping. We've done, there's a lot of things we've done custom on our car washes. Now we like to do our standards because that's what we can perform quickly and without adding a lot of cost. But when it's required, we can certainly be flexible in some cases.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, you mentioned that there were some, in declarations, that there were some aesthetic features. How does that work tied to that property?
Yeah, great
And
question.
that's what you're saying?
Yeah, so those are restrictive covenants that are recorded on the property. So when we go into, it's kind of like CCNRs in a neighborhood, or, so this area has some restrictive covenants like that. So they have some architectural guidelines, requirements, height restrictions. There's a couple different things that we have to do to be compatible with that.
And then I just want to be sure, this long rectangular piece that's on your site plan, that's where a car drives in, gets washed, you stay in your car there, but then is that self-service kind of thing? And then you drive out and you vacuum your car and detail it yourself?
Yeah, great question. So, the customers will wrap around the south side, that's our stacking lanes, and they'll come up to our pay station, which I don't know if I have a laser pointer, I can move a mouse or something. Can you see the cursor on there?
So you
Okay.
come in off MacArthur.
Yes, so here's the ingress and egress. There's also some cross-access agreements here, so if people want to go to Starbucks, they can access it directly through there. But our main ingress and egress will be an existing access. It's already there. That's on MacArthur. But our customers will wrap around to the south into our stacking lanes. And you can see there's a ton of stacking stalls. We like to do that. We like to make sure we never have an issue backing up onto city streets or congestion. We also have some automatic license plate readers that help just our members who are monthly subscribers the gates will automatically open. They can go on through. We also have a little quicker service times than a lot of our competitors. So really, it keeps traffic moving well. So you'll pull in on that east side. You'll put your car in neutral. It's a conveyor type system where it pulls you through. And then you'll exit there on the west side. It's a little bit, you'll notice the building's a little bit wider on the south side. That'll be, I don't have a floor plan, but the tunnel, of course, is that whole north portion, but the south area will be an equipment room, a restroom for employees, an office, things like that. We don't offer any customer-related services within the building other than when you're in your car being pulled through. And then when you exit the tunnel and come out, our studies show we usually see a little less than half of our customers will go use the vacuums, and the rest, a little more than half, will go and be on their way. The vacuums here, correct, they are a self-serve vacuum. One nice thing about our vacuums, you'll notice on the right end of the rows of vacuum stalls, there's one here and here. Those are CMU block enclosures. So rather than having vacuum motors at every stall or every other stall, we just have one single motor on each row that's enclosed in CMU block. And then we have hoses routed to each stall. And that just helps cut down on more noise and makes it just looks cleaner and nicer, and it's just quieter. It's just a better experience for neighbors and for us. So, did that answer your question?
Yes, very much. And I'm just wondering about the price point, because I know what it costs to clean a car in Valley Ranch or in North Irving. So self-serve is quick in and out. You've got memberships. And then if they go over to the stalls, that's coin drop, pay as you go, like an
Nope,
old-fashioned
the vacuums are just
swipe?
all included. You just pull up and vacuum. Yeah. So if you wanted to just pull up and not use the car wash, I won't tell anyone.
Any other questions for the applicant?
In regards to the covenants that you mentioned, there are some restrictions on what you can build there. Is that on that lot, or is that on the area you said?
It includes, I'd have to look back at it. I don't think it's just our lot. I think it's a larger area, at least 3 different lots, I think. And I don't remember, I know there aren't use restrictions for a car wash. I know we cleared that. There may be other use restrictions, but the biggest thing that we were concerned about was the the architectural requirements.
Okay. Out of curiosity, what's the cost to build a car wash?
To build a car wash?
Yeah, about range, I don't know.
That's a great question. I don't deal too much on that side of it. Our construction team does, but it's a few million
Okay.
to build a car wash. Yeah.
Now, this is for staff. Is there a restriction about how far can each car wash be? Is it half a mile, or is there any kind of restriction on that end?
There's no set standard for that. That's why we provided that information, just for you to have that knowledge, because there has been concern about concentrating car washes, but it's more just a subjective consideration for you. There's not particularly an industry standard.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Just a quick follow-up question on the design standards. Is that something that goes before some kind of architectural committee, or is it just you have to comply, or there's like an enforcement mechanism?
Yeah, we see a lot of different mechanisms for enforcement there. Typically, it does go in front of an architectural control committee or a declarant or something like that that would approve it. Or sometimes it's just there, and then there's maybe some default language in the declarations as well. And I can't remember how this one's enforced. I believe we go in front of an architectural control committee, our plans for approval, but I can double check that.
Okay. So right now you're not sure though that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry.
No, thank
I
you.
was gonna say, isn't that Las Colinas Association? No, it's not LCA?
They said no.
Any other questions for the applicant? No? All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak in favor of this item? Is there anybody who'd like to speak in opposition to this item? No? Then I'll return it to the commission for any further discussion and a motion.
I'd like to offer a few comments. This was mentioned in our work session, but just for those that might not have been there, part of this approval process is requesting a CUP, and the staff recommendation is approval with indefinite time period. I've been given pause with the requirement that it be compatible with the character of the neighborhood. It sounds like it's somewhat mitigated by the design standards that are in place, but I've seen the proliferation of car washes in the Irving and DFW area, and it just at the end of the day does not strike me as compatible. And I do have a traffic concern as well. I mean, it's a one point of egress on a pretty busy MacArthur Street. So that would be a secondary concern of mine. So, I mean, I would say at a minimum, there'd be some kind of time frame to reevaluate, which I know there are concerns about that as well. So anyways, for those reasons, I'm not in a position to support.
Any further discussion?
This is for staff as well. As of now, right now, it's just zoned for office use. Correct, so only an office can be built in there, because that space, I think, has been vacant for a couple of years now.
Correct. It's zoned, currently is it CO? Is that what it is today? Yeah. If it's CO, then all you can do is an office. There are various other uses under the CO district, but it wouldn't be retail or anything like that, just office. Mhm. Pardon? Yeah, not restaurant, retail, service, it would be just offices.
Thank you.
It's actually currently zone CC.
It's zone CC?
CC.
Okay. If that's the case, being zone CC, then that does have a much wider allowance of the types of uses that can go in there. It's a pretty permissive commercial district.
For example?
Just the retail, restaurant, services, there's, that you could do auto repair. It's pretty expansive of the types of uses allowed in CC.
Thank you.
I'd like to make one comment. I have to agree with Commissioner Denny and say I think there could be a better fit for this location. I think the compatibility is a big issue, and I just can't see just creating more density at car washes up in that area, so this is something I could not support.
On that side of Hillsgate.
If no one else wants to make a comment, I can make a motion. I move to, actually, if I could make one more comment. This has nothing to do with the character of the company. It's everything I've seen, the first-class car wash company, impressive. To me, it's more about the area, and so I just wanted to offer that comment. But to move to, for this circumstance and location, I would move to recommend disapproval of the conditional use permit 2024-410-CUP.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second recommending disapproval. Please vote. All right, and the motion passes. And of course, it just goes with a recommendation of disapproval to the City Council. All right. Our last item, zoning case 2024-428-ZC, located at 1500 North Loop 12. Is the applicant present? Yes.
Yes, I am. Good
All right.
afternoon. Rob Baldwin, 3904 Elm Street, Suite B in Dallas. I'm here representing Briggs Equipment, who has this property at 1500 North Walton Walker under contract. Briggs Equipment has been in business for over 120 years, always based in Dallas. They want to move their train and truck operations over to this site. I had a presentation, but staff did such a great job at the briefing session, they took all my slides, so I'm not going to bore you with that. But this is that triangular property that 2.42 acres, and widening of Loop 12 made the triangle even narrower. And so what we're asking for variances to setbacks for the existing buildings, because we can't meet the setback requirements. That will only apply to these existing buildings. If those buildings are to be removed either by the act of God or by the owner, we'd have to comply with the 25-foot setback. Interesting thing is, truck and auto sales and rentals are allowed here. Equipment is not, and there's only one really, at this time, one piece of equipment that Briggs Equipment does that they're going to put on this, and it's a Trackmaster. It goes on railroads. It's about 13 feet tall, and they would like to be able to sell and rent that. And that's really the only piece of equipment at this time that is on there that is triggering the zoning request. As staff pointed out, Sunbelt Rentals is just to the south of us. We're surrounded by industrial uses. I think this is a good use of the property. It's in keeping with what's out there today, and it's repurposing existing buildings that are kind of difficult to repurpose just because their proximity to a high-speed service road. With that, I'm here to answer any questions. I hope you can support this request. Thank you very much.
Any questions for the applicant? Thank you very much. All right. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak in favor of this item? Anybody in opposition? Then I'll return it to the commission for any discussion and a motion.
I'd like to make a comment on this. Me personally, I'm okay with it as far as there's Sunbelt right down the road. You got Davis Crane. You got all these areas that are, so it's fitting the area. I am a little bit concerned about one thing, and I just want to make sure it's clear. I'm okay with the 2 foot. I think that's a hardship that was created by the highway to this property. So I'm okay with that. This is a true hardship. My main concern is that I don't want it where it's being able to be built by right. If there's a problem or a fire, it makes them where they got to come into compliance. But as far as giving them a variance to keep the building where it's at and continue business, I can support that.
Any further discussion? Okay. And do we have a motion? Oh, Commissioner Lightfoot, were you going to make a motion or further?
I was going to make a motion. Oh, let Debbie do it.
Well, no,
Ladies
I
first.
was
Ladies
just gonna,
first.
I just was going to say thank you. We're always happy to take business from Dallas, so thank you. I love the fact it has longevity. It's a proven history, 23 locations. I don't think we could ask for a better partner. So with that in mind, I make a motion to forward case 2024-428-ZC to City Council for approval.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. It looked like a third and a fourth. For recommending approval, please vote. All right, and the motion passes unanimously. All right, and that is our last item. So the meeting is adjourned at 8:35 PM.